How you doing, folks? In amongst the important considerations for when you're making videos is lighting, in addition to the likes of sound and video quality and editing and the equipment you use and everything else as well, but also lighting. And one thing that is not going to cut the mustard are these four fluorescent fittings that are in the background here in my new garage. So I have bought some. I've bought some replacement fittings, which are LED. They're 68 watts a piece, and so they're kind of a cowshed light replacement. So let's figure out how the best way is to put them up. So one of the things I will be doing is I'll be painting all the walls white in here, okay? But the light fittings that are on the ceiling there, I'm actually going to repurpose two of them for over on the workbench over here, and they'll be turned around the other way, and then there are basically four kind of lines that I have 12 lights to put up, okay? So that's, I suppose, a good point to start with. So I'm thinking 4 rows of 3. So I could put, say, 3 there, and then there's a metal joist, which would be great for if I ever want to install a hoist or anything like that. Another 3 there, and another 3 down the end. And then the stairwell is there up to the loft. But I'm not going to worry too much about illuminating there, so we'll probably come over maybe 2 joists and then start there and then measure it all out and basically evenly space them. So what I need to do is I need to find out how many joists each light occupies, and kind of I'm particularly anal about this sort of stuff, to be honest with you. If they don't line up with the joists and all that, it'll just wreck my head. So we will. I'll get one of the lights out of the box and I'll show you what it looks like as well. Followers of my channel might recognise this light here beside me, which I've actually been using in the old shed, and it's great. In actual fact, it's a 100-watt LED panel, so it throws out a lot of light, and it tends not to flicker too much as well. So it's obviously got a decent LED driver in it, but I don't want to have to be dragging this around with me. It'll be great for spotlighting. I still will use it. But the thing about it is part of the problem I have here is the fact that there isn't actually any wiring here for the lights. The lights that are on the ceiling are actually just on a plug top on the wall, and I have to run an extension lead to my other shed. Now, the wiring has since been run, so there will be a consumer panel put in, and there'll be light switches and stuff like that as well. So we'll be sorting all of that out in the background. I will be employing the services of an electrician as well. Partly because of the fact that I've never wired up a consumer panel before, partly because 230 volts is bloody dangerous, and partly because I'm not a qualified registered electrical contractor, so I can't technically do a whole lot. Now, to be honest with you, what I will be doing is I will be putting in the wiring from each light unit and wiring them back to the board, and then what I'll do is, through the miracle of editing, I'll show you guys the end result, and maybe what I might do is just run a temporary wire and put a plug top on it, and then we can actually we can illustrate things then. So as I said, let's go and get one of the lights out of the box and we'll see how we look. Okay, so these are the units. They're a pretty standard cowshed fitting, as they're called. So series of clips either side. There's 2 strips of LEDs inside them, and they are seriously bright. And they do have a proper LED driver in them, so there's not going to be any 50 hertz flicker out of them or anything like that as well, which would really ruin my day if there was. But just out of curiosity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer them up against the existing fittings that are actually in the shed, and we can see how we're looking. As far as the length is concerned, they are exactly the same. Okay, so that kind of answers that question. So at least we now know already how many lights or how many beams each light occupies, and that's 5. So it's between 5. So because I'm going to be installing these widthways here, and obviously not including the stairwell here, what we're going to do is so it'll be space, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that'll work, and that'll mean that then we have an even spacing all the way along, and they'll go up nicely. Now the only other thing I need to think about is the positioning of the clips that actually hold the lights up. If they're positioned in such a way that they actually rest on the joists, then happy days, and I really hope they do. But if not, then it means we have to get a couple of strips of wood to attach them to. It starts getting a little bit messy, and I really don't want to have to do that. The other option is to use some jack chain, which I might go down the route of doing as well. Okay, so from the center point to the center point here is 120. Okay, so now hopefully we have 120 space with the joints, or the joists even, and we'll be able to actually just screw the things directly onto it. At least we have our main measurement anyway. Okay, so we're looking for 120. So let's see how. Just about. Make it work. Let's see now. No. It's literally about 2 centimeters out. But I have a couple of ideas to get around that. There is a little bit of wiggle room on the actual. There's a little bit of wiggle room on the clips, so we should be able to figure out something there. So let's have a look at the clips next. Any of you American viewers may be wondering what the story is with the voltage of the lighting. There's very little 110 stuff here in Ireland. 110 volts is only really used on building sites, and even in that application, a lot of the time you use transformers and stuff like that to generate the 110 volts from the mains voltage, which is 230 volts. Our lighting and all that is all 230 volts, plug sockets and everything. So with it comes its own set of problems, but it also comes with a huge amount of benefits as well. You have much more juice basically to do stuff like boiling kettles and all that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So put our diffuser out of the way and let's have a look at our clips. It comes with screws and a cable gland, and these are the 2 clips then. So basically what you do is you screw these onto the joists and then you clip the lights into them. So simple as that really. But what I want to do is I just want to have a look and see if the clips actually can be moved left or right. I think they can. Yeah, I see no reason why they can't. So that buys us a bit of space. That probably buys us a centimetre on each side. That's brilliant. Okay, so that'll solve that issue for us then. Right, okay, next thing to do is to measure out these and get them screwed onto the joists and see how one of them fits up there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to mark up where the light fittings are actually going to go, or rather the brackets. So I've measured from the center point there to the wall and it's 250. So I want to go at 125 each, and I'm going to mark out the joists where they're going to go, and that'll give me a good starting point. So 125 is there. I don't want to put the clips too close to the other side, so I'm kind of not. I'm not putting them right in the center because I might not have enough wiggle room. What I can do is I can screw them in loosely and then or actually offer up the fitting and see how the line is looking. So so that's that. I'm going to do the same on the third joist over. So that'll be 1, 2, that one there. All right, so now let's see how our marks are working out. Okay, so what I need to do now is I want to measure the distance, just to double check. I'm going to measure from one dot I've made to the next, and it's 122. All right, so I think we'll get away with that, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to have one more look at the fitting. Okay, so 122 is absolutely fine, so we can now put our clip up. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm just centering it up with the point I made. There's a hole in the middle here, so all right, so now I can actually put the first light up. Oh, that goes in nice. Hey! That's the job. Alright, so now I have to do that 11 more times. Then I have to wire them up. Okay, so just to kind of change my plan very slightly now. You'll see that because of the way that's kind of straddling 4 beams and it's sort of overhanging on either end, I'm actually going to leave 2 joists in between, and then we're going to go another 4 here, and then another 2 in between, and another 4 over there, and that'll give us some nice even spacing. And then what we'll be doing is we'll be putting a couple of the old fluorescent strip lights up above the workbench over there as well, so there won't be a dark corner over that side. But you can see, like, those fluorescent strip lights don't provide, or they don't cause any shadows or anything like that. So, or not shadows, flickering. So it's not, they're absolutely fine to reuse. So I'll use 2 of them there, and then I'm going to put 2 of them up in the loft as well. And at least, like, they're perfectly serviceable fittings. There's nothing wrong with them. So why wouldn't I reuse them? Okay, so it's quite a few days later now, and I'm just going to plough ahead with these. I'm just trying to do bits and pieces when I have the time. So what I've done is, although you can see the fittings are up there and there, they're obviously not connected, and I've just literally put the shell up for that one there. So what we can do is run wires to that. They allow for, like, if you look here, there are small sort of nylon straps that can support the actual light fitting itself, and allow it to hang down while I wire it up. So I'll be using them, and then once we have all the wires in, we can button them up into place. So that's basically 1 row done. So I have another 3 rows to go. So let's just keep going. Somewhere along the way I decided that using 2 screws in each of these brackets was overkill, so I've decided just to put 1 in the centre. You can see there's a slotted hole in the middle anyway. The only thing is the screws they provide you go through those holes typically enough, so I just have to use some washers, but not the end of the world, and it certainly makes installing the lights an awful lot easier. Okay, so the last of the fittings are now fixed to the ceiling, so now we can start on the wiring, which is the next job to do. Now I'm still going to leave the existing lighting in place because, to be honest with you, the wiring was never finished in the first instance, so I'm going to kind of redo all the wiring. I bought a spool of wire, I bought all the clips and some strip connectors, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'll just show you briefly how I'm going to actually go about connecting them. So there's 4 strips of 3. So that'll be our first one in this chain, okay? So we link this one to this one to this one, and then bring a wire across to this one and start a new chain along there, and then another wire from the end at the end one there down to there and along there, and then from there down to there and across. And basically that will mean that we have all of them all connected up, and the final point is down beside that door down there, which will have the switch beside it, and I'll probably put a switch up the other end as well because I often come in the other door, to be honest. So we'll just we'll attach one of the actual lights themselves to the fixtures there now and see how we're looking. So this is one of the light panels with 2 strips of LEDs on it. And on the back of it is a strip connector, which we can connect into. I'm using 1.5 square wire, so that'll give us plenty of current capacity. And each of the light fittings has a little nylon piece that hangs down. And I did already tell you this before, so if you weren't paying attention, it's your own time you're wasting, okay? So we're going to just pop those in through these holes, which will allow these to hang down and allow us to run the wires. And given the fact that all of the wires that join them will all be the same length, what I'll do is I'll cut and strip several wires so we can just basically wire them all up and get, say, 2 of the 3 in each of the runs connected up. So yeah, I think that makes sense. At least I think it makes sense anyway, yeah. Be really careful not to drop this, because that would disappoint me greatly if I broke it. So there's holes in the fixtures, in the actual lights themselves, which these little yokies are supposed to go into it. They do go in the holes. I was just going about it the wrong way. You don't just squeeze them in, you have to kind of push them in one side first and then the other. It's a little bit fiddly, but not the end of the world. Yeah, so now that'll hang down there. So that will allow us to make our connections. And then when we're finished, there's these little pieces that turn and holds the piece in place, and then we can put our diffuser on. So now I'm not going to worry about using grommets or anything like that, because to be honest with you, these are never going to get wet. And if they do get wet, then the lights getting wet is the least of my problems, to be honest with you. So yeah, we'll just run the wires out the holes and onto the next light. So yeah, I think that'll work. I'm just going around between each set of lights and drilling holes through the joists to run the wires. It'll give a neater job. Some people wouldn't bother doing it, but I'm different to most people. I mean, like the time I got struck by lightning, balloons just kept sticking to me. Okay, so what I've got here is 1.5 square 3-core flex, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start fishing it now. And I've actually, as I said, drilled holes through the joists, and I drilled out the tops of the lights. There's little knockoff points there on them anyway, so I'm just after drilling them out, so the wire will actually come out the top of the light fixture and go through the joists and down into the next one. Just for the sake of 10 minutes, it makes a neater job, you know. So yeah, let's get stuck in. So yeah, I bought a full roll of 1.5 square. It's the type of thing I'd use again, you know. I mean, you can use it for other things as well. Okay. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be taking this wire back out again, because this is basically just like my template wire, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to cut it to the correct length, and then I'm going to cut 12 lengths of wire of the set. Actually be 8, in fact, that I'll be cutting to the same length. So it means at least we don't have to go trying to kind of fish wires through like this. I mean, mind you, it's not actually all that difficult to do. But it means though, what I can do is I can strip the wires on the ground. Like that's pretty good even as it is now. So that's by the time we've connected them into the block connector there, then we will have enough slack on that. So now we need to run that wire down to the other end of the fixture, because that's where the connector block is, and they're all at basically my left as I'm standing now. So the that side of the garage. So yeah, run it down, and I'll get it as far as I need to, and then cut it there. Give myself a little bit of extra. You don't want to make it too tight for yourself, you know. Here I am sounding like I know what I'm talking about again. This is not a tutorial, folks. This is just me kitting out my garage. So now I'm going to pull that wire out, and I'm going to cut a whole load of length to that length. These things are always easier when you have the right tools for the job, or at least tools to make it easier. I know I can do it with a snips. I just did it with a snips, but is this not easier? See? All right, so there's 8 pieces of wire here. all cut and ready to go. So let's get them installed. Now I'll be able to close up the two to my right here once we have the wires in, but we won't be able to do that one yet because there is still obviously the wire that has to go down to the next one as well, has to go in there. So anyway, won't worry about that just for the moment. I mean, I could move all of these boxes, but I'm a very, very lazy man. Very lazy. So, no, I won't be doing that. I'd sooner bust my hump climbing over the stuff than actually move a few boxes. Anyway, this is the only one that's actually like this, so I'm above it. Okay. That's them all wired up. So I can now literally put that entire light fitting together. So why don't we do that? Alright, there we go. So that wire will now go on to the next light. But we put the diffuser on that first anyway, so at least we can call any of the ones that have a diffuser on are then finished. There we go. Number 1 of 12 done. Happy days. Progress is being made here, folks. So now let's go on to the next one. Now the next one is going to need 2 sets of wires going into it. Okay, so there's those 2 lights actually in and connected up, and the wires going across to the third one there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect up the first, or the number 2 and 3 in each string of lights, and then we'll then we'll connect up the first ones with a run of wire that will go down to the to a junction box down the other end of the garage. So yeah, I think that'll work. I'm kind of making this up as I go along, folks. You know what I mean? But it seems to be coming together. So yeah, next thing to do is these 2 lights here. But I'm tempted to put a plug on that light there and just see how much light those lights actually throw out. And that wire there sticking down, that if I put a plug on them and plug it in, I'll get those 2 ones on. And let's do that actually. Okay, it's the moment of truth. So I have a wire connected into these here. I got an old mains cable off something and I put a block connector on the end, and that will allow me to plug various things in. It's actually a useful thing to have around if you're actually ever doing any electrical work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in. Those 2 lights over there should come on, and we can compare the brightness of those to the brightness of the existing cowshed fittings. See if there's much of a difference. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter if there isn't much of a difference because there's only 4 of them and the garage is reasonably bright as it is, but there's going to be 12 of the new ones. So let's have a look and see. Moment of truth, folks. Oh yeah. Oh, they're a lot brighter. Wow. It's going to look really well. That's brilliant. I'm delighted with them now. Brilliant. Happy days. I put a couple of cable ties in the spokes of the young lad's bike outside, and he's happy as Larry going around with the thing making a little engine noise. It's the simple things, you know. Anyway, right, let's continue on. That's proof of concept. Okay, so you're probably thinking there's more costume changes here than a West End musical, but it's because of the fact that I'm just trying to get done what I can here and there. So although, you know, from one take to the next might be instantaneous for you, it most certainly isn't for me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I was trying to kind of come up with an idea as to how I can actually wire the lights so that there is no more than 2 connections in any one unit. I don't want to have 3 wires going into any of them, so it just gets difficult to try and wire them all up and that. So I'll show you here now what way I have planned it. So that's just a basic drawing I did just to illustrate, and yeah, so basically the way I'm going to do it now, I'll actually do it the opposite way, but That light there will be the first in the chain. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go from there over to here and go 4, 5, 6, and then from that end there, come around there, over to there, and then back around, and that terminates at the last light down there beside where the consumer panel is going to be. So I think that'll do the job nicely. The only downside about that, and it's only really down to my own laziness, is that I have to open up a couple of the fittings that I have already kind of completed as such. But it's not the end of the world, you know. I mean, look at it, it's a small price to pay to do the job right. So yeah, I'll do that. So yeah, first things first, I will get that one there beside the door buttoned up. That's that one there finished. That one's finished. Then that one I need to run one more wire to, and then another one to that one there, and yeah, and then we'll bring it back around again. By the way, folks, if you're ever doing any electrical wiring, get yourself one of these. It's called a cable cropper. It's not like a snips insofar as the blades overlap and they're actually they're curved, but this thing will lop through any wire and is fantastic for stripping and cutting and stuff like that as well. So yeah, it was actually an electrician who suggested I buy one of these, and when I was picking up the lights I saw one there on the shelf and I got one, and I love it. It's amazing. Okay folks, it's the moment of truth. So we're going to turn off these fluorescent fittings here and turn on the new LED fittings. Oh yes, this is the job. Really, really happy with this. It is so much brighter. And the great thing is I checked on the camera as well, and there's a zero flicker. That's because these fittings have a correct LED driver. It's not one of these Mickey Mouse fittings. The thing about it is that you can get chainable LED fittings that basically they have a link cable between them. They're often used for kitchen cabinets and the likes. But the thing about it is the fact that they are A, they're lower power, and B, they're lower quality. So yeah, I know there's a lot of them available for 110 volt systems, but because we're dealing with 230 volts here, it's a different ball game. So there's different requirements, different legislation, all that sort of stuff as well. And plus, these are very, very hard-wearing industrial fittings. Like, they're proper cowshed fittings, and they will see me out. I mean, because they're not going to be left on all the time. They're only going to be left on while I'm in here, and when I forget to turn them off, to be fair. But yeah, I'm delighted with this. Now, there's still a few jobs left to do, and I'm just going to show you now what we still need to do. So we still have 4 cowshed fittings, like fluorescent ones, left in the workshop here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repurpose them. I did already mention it, but 2 of them are going to go over the workbench, and 2 of them are going to go in the loft upstairs, and that will illuminate some of the slightly darker areas there at the moment, because I'm looking, and the workbench still is in shadow, so I don't want that, obviously. I mean, that needs to be a really well lit area. I mean, they're perfectly serviceable units, to be honest with you. They don't even look like they're that old, so they'll serve the purpose absolutely fine for what we want to do. But the main areas, my main focus here was that I didn't want to have to use work lights when I'm working on a car in here, especially for filming and that. And you need a good bit of light intensity. With the best cameras in the world, you need good lighting to do filming. So yeah, I mean, look, it will always you'll always get better film quality when you have better lighting. So yeah, I mean, look, it's the 12 fittings, wiring, all of that sort of stuff came to about, I think I paid about €640 for everything. So it sounds like an awful lot of money, but to be honest with you, for the benefits I'm going to get out of it, it's well worth it. And yeah, I'm absolutely over the moon. I mean, having this space alone is great, but having this space that's well lit like this, better again. Now, there's still a few, aside from the cowshed fittings, we still have to get the consumer unit put in, and I want to get a couple of 16 amp outlets as well as 13 amp outlets, and then there'll be switches at both doors, that kind of stuff. So, you know, and I'm going to get a proper electrician to do that, you know, but this putting these lights in myself actually saved an awful lot of money. And yeah, I mean, look, to be honest with you, it came out of the my YouTube revenue. So thank you very much to all of my subscribers, followers, and viewers. So you guys have made this possible. So I'm really, really happy. You know, it's a big thing. So yeah, last thing is to, as I said, we'll throw in those cowshed fittings at a later stage. And in my next video, I'll just briefly show you what we've done there, because I'm not going to be doing it now and I want to get this video up. So yeah, listen, thanks very much for watching, folks. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you go. We still have lots to do. Videos are sparse, and number one reason for that is because I've got a newborn baby. So our second child was born on the 13th of July. So myself and my wife are both thrilled, and yeah, obviously that's our priority at the moment, you know, that, and obviously we've a little 3-year-old boy who you've seen in my previous videos as well. So yeah, we've another little boy now as well. So we're a family of 4, and yeah, happy days, you know. I mean, lots of positive things happening. Moving house, getting all the works done in the house, new baby along after coming along, and yeah, I mean, look, here we are. So yeah, listen, I'll talk to you soon, folks. Thanks for watching. So here's what everything looks like, by the way, with all of the lights on, including the old fluorescent fittings. And bloody hell, I mean, there is some light out of these. To be honest with you, it's making me think I might actually leave the fluorescent fittings in and get some more for over the workbench and upstairs. So yeah, I mean, or either that or change the ones on the ceiling for LED and put the fluorescent ones where I was saying I was going to put them. But yeah, I mean, like, the difference in light is incredible. So yeah, I mean, that's really, really good. But the other thing that has to go is the bloody swallows.
Frickin' boards again.
They're crapping all over everything and they're doing my head in. Now, I am an animal lover, and I'm certainly not going to be going evicting them anytime soon. But what I'll do is I'll wait until they've flown the nest come kind of September, October, and once they've made their way down to Africa, they can stay there as far as I'm concerned, because they're not coming back in here, that's for sure. So I'll be shoring everything up. There's a window over there that was left open by the previous owner of the house, and I assume that's the reason for that was to actually let the little bastards in. But I don't want them. You can have them if you want them, folks. Just send me an email and I'll send you a box of swallows or house martins. I'm not sure which they are, but yeah, the fact that they're crapping all over everything, I ain't having it, to quote photonic induction. So yeah, talk to you soon, folks.